Lewin of School Corridor here. Welcome again to one of our corridor chats, and we have an exciting time tonight. I'm Sharon, like I said, and I have Crystal Lewin, my tech guy, sitting here. And believe it or not, guess who we have in the house tonight? We have Professor Jonathan Jansen, and of course we brought Emily O'Reilly in as well because they are the editors of that fantastic, phenomenal book called Learning Under Lockdown. So, guys, we want you to enjoy the conversation that Prof. Jonathan Jansen is going to have tonight with us, and Emily. And then, of course, we'll bring them on soon. We've got two students here as well. We thought it would be a good idea to invite two students who are willing to come onto the show. The two students are student writers. They are now published writers. They appear in Learning Under Lockdown. So we have Bayanda Mbanda from Simonstown School here in the Western Cape. And then, of course, we have Thea Juanita Ernest from KwaZulu-Natal. And so we're going to bring them on right away. And then, of course, I also have a co-host tonight, Theola Phillips. So, Crystal, let's bring the whole bang lot on. There they are! Welcome, guys! Thanks for being on School Corridor. Welcome, Professor Jonathan Jansen. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And, of course, Emily, the other editor of Learning Under Lockdown. Thanks so much, Emily, for making time to come onto the show. And then, of course, we have Thea Juanita Ernest from KwaZulu-Natal with us tonight, a grade 12 student, and she is at Mount View in Durban, right? And she's busy writing a trial, so she decided she'll just take a break and come and join us here. And of course, we have Bayanda Mbata, who is from Simonstown School. And he's also matriculant, and he's starting his trials tomorrow. So I'm going to give him a chance to say hi to you. But I first need to tell you I've got a co-host with me as well. Her name is Theola Phillips. And she's a department head of Yellowwood Primary School in Mitchells Plain. So guys, that is the group that's going to keep you engaged and entertained. And you must give questions, and you must put the prof under pressure tonight. And you can put Bayanda and Thea under pressure. Put Emily under pressure. Okay? So on that note, I'm going to give everybody a chance to say hi to the community, and then we will start our grilling. Right, Viola?
Yes.
Yes.
We are right.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So, Prof, you want to say hi to the community?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you very much. I mean, the stars of the show tonight are clearly Thea and Bayanda. I mean, I'm so proud of them. They are absolutely, they even look stunning, you know, and so it's great to see you guys. Thank you for what you do. Good luck with your trials, and Emily and I were very proud to be able to edit the book on your behalf.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, anybody else want to give a shout out there just to greet mom and dad who's on tonight? Principals?
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out to my parents who are probably watching, and my sister as well. I'd like to thank them for the tremendous support that they've afforded me throughout my schooling career, and supporting all of my decisions. I think that they are my biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Thanks, Thea.
And I would like to give a shout out to my mom, who's my number one supporter. She's my superwoman, my everything. And she's always there for me whenever. She's back in KZN right now, so I'm originally from KZN.
Okay.
So I'd like to give a shout out to her.
Love.
And everybody who knows me. Yeah.
Super. And Emily, any shout outs there? Any greetings?
No. A big hello to the internet, and thanks for giving your time on a Tuesday evening.
Thanks so much, Fiona.
I'm good. A shout out to my colleagues and my family watching. They must probably all here watching, and they know I've been speaking about this book for a while now. Just a little background. I checked the 17th of August when Prof posted on Facebook that the book is out, and he said the post went that it's out now, but it's raining, so don't go out now. And I was in bed, and I stood up out of bed, I got dressed, and I was on my way to CNA, and I bought like 5 copies of the book. So I'm excited, and I am here. So yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. Thanks so much, everybody. So, Bayanda and Thea, we'd like to just put you on, to ask you a few questions. Tell us, how did you hear about this? Was it a competition, Prof? No, which is an invitation.
No, let them tell you. I'm very interested to hear how they.
Okay. Right, tell us, how did you hear about this book that was going to be compiled with student writers and your student writings and so on? Who would like to start?
I'd like to start. So I think that firstly, I'd like to thank the Learning Under Lockdown team for giving me such a fabulous opportunity. I think that it's very rare that officials in institutions give young people the chance to be part of such inclusive conversations. So I'd like to thank them for giving me that opportunity to be part of such a special project. And I heard about the opportunity through my educator at school, Mrs. M. Pillay, who's probably also tuned in right now. And she always wants to create opportunities for learners at our school to be able to be part of conversations that advocate for some kind of change. And she encourages that kind of, valor that you need to be able to be part of those conversations. And that's how I heard about it. And as soon as I heard about it, I was so overwhelmed because I've heard about Professor Jansen and his impact in the school community. And I really look up to him. So I was really amazed at the opportunity. And I just sat and I wrote whatever I felt. And, that's how I heard about the opportunity and decided to be a part of it.
Wonderful. Bayanda?
I heard about the opportunity from my teacher. Actually the Low Hill head, Mrs. Owen. She sent information on the group chat we have for our hostel, and then I was just interested in writing because I was in the States during lockdown at home, had nothing to do, and then I just decided to pick up a pen and just start writing. So for me, it was just a very good experience to write something that I have a part on.
Wonderful. Prof and Emily, you want to comment perhaps on that response from our young writers?
Emily?
No, just it's amazing to meet you in the flesh. That's the first thing that I'm thinking of. It's amazing to see the human beings, behind the words, and it's incredible when I feel like I've heard your story, and I think that's incredibly special. It's so great to see you in the flesh. You are real human beings. And thank you for writing.
Thank you.
Amen.
No, I agree. And thank God for educators, for teachers, because we put this out on Facebook and Twitter, and then a lot of teachers just sort of got their students involved. And so to Mrs. Pillay and to Miss Owen, both, I certainly know Miss Owen, if you connected, thank you guys for what you do for our young people. Because there's a connection here. There's a connection between Emily and myself. There's the internet. There's the teacher, and then it gets to you. That's how networks work, And so there's so much to say, but yeah, I'm glad. And let me just say this about Emily, if you don't mind, while I can get a hoe in, as they say in Afrikaans. I mean, she really, really worked very hard with her team to manage the communication, to manage the 640 submissions, to communicate, So don't let that calm demeanor fool you. She worked very, very,
Yes.
to bring the stories to life.
Yeah, thanks for that, Prof. And thanks, Emily. Then to Thea and to Bayanda. Thea, I'll give you an opportunity to ask them a question after this. So how did you respond? How did you react when you saw that your writing is in a book called Learning Under Lockdown? How did you feel when you realized that you are immortalized in this book? Bayanda?
Oh, for me, I was just overwhelmed because like I've never had something that I like I'm getting what's this? I'm getting like counted on. That's gonna be like there for a long time. So to be part of that book, it means very much to me.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks so much for that.
And I think that I was also really overwhelmed and so excited at the fact that, you know, I'm an official published writer, if you could call that, if you could call it that. But I mean, it's just amazing to see how, you know, the youth in South Africa are being included in you know, such amazing projects, and that their voices still matter. And for me, being able to be a part of such a project brought immense honor to my community, to my school, and also to my family. And I think that whenever I do something, I don't only represent myself, but I represent those that were before me, those that are in my community now, and even those that are going to be in my community in the future. And having my opinion and my piece in the book for the longest period of time going forward is just something that's going to be there to stay. And so people in the future will be able to, you know, take what I've said, and probably if it inspires them, it will. And if it motivates them to do something to change the world, I think that that's the most special thing.
Super. What do I say, Fiona?
I wanted to know, obviously, this was an opportunity that presented itself by Prof and Emily. So we all have these dreams within us. So for the two of you, when you were smaller, even now, did you ever have a dream to be a writer? And even now that you had this opportunity and you are a published writer, as you said, do you think that you would delve deeper into this? Would you also like to write a book of your own one day, or be an author, or did this spark something in you?
Of course, for me, I'm originally a poem writer, so I like writing poems now and then. So I have a few poems actually that I'm still writing right now, but then due to exams, I couldn't like go and finish them. But then I'm very happy that my piece has been like a part of that book right now. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I've always well, growing up reading books by authors such as Roald Dahl and Enid Blyton, I've always dreamed of creating some sort of you know, fantasy. And I think everyone wants to be a writer, because regardless of whether you're passionate about it or not, I think that the fact that you have a voice and an opinion, it's going to create some sort of impact, regardless of how much you believe in it or not. So I would love to continue writing, and probably have a blog where I motivate groups of people, especially the youth. I'm very passionate about trying to motivate individuals to, you know, be part of an active youth. I think that's something I'm very passionate about, and that's something I would carry through to in the future.
Oh, I love that. And can I extend that question to Emily as well? Did you ever think of becoming a writer? And I think this is your first published book that you guys have, or you have now. I know, Prof, you have many titles. So did you perhaps think of it, and do you have further plans of writing books?
Prof, do you want to, is it me? You?
Me? No, it's you.
That's for you, Emily.
Emily.
So I certainly creating was always on the cards. I've always, expression. But I did not expect to have a book done at 22 at all. That was not, but at all on the cards. It was incredible. But certainly coming, towards the later years of university, of high school into university, definitely writing was very much on the cards. Just didn't see it happening so soon, and it's been incredible to do it so soon.
Yeah.
Emily, you better tell them about the next book.
Yes. So we go. At the moment, sort of in the process for another one. And Thea is definitely speaking my kind of language about young people and voices. So the next book is Bridging That Gap. And it's a book that is supposed to equip young people and to share with them mistakes of 100 influential South African leaders. So that has just started, and hopefully the idea is that we get comfortable with mistakes that have been made by, leaders that we know in South Africa, and one of them is on this call, and that young people can embrace error and really take up courage to lead.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love that. And we know Prof. Jansen, he likes to lead the young ones. Right? When I look at him, I see a mentor in him, and there's not many people that possess that. So, yes, thank you, Prof, for being that as well. So, Sharon, over to you.
Look how cute she is, Prof. Yeah.
Please.
So, guys, Bayanda and Thea, we're just going to ask a few questions to Prof and Emily now. So, Prof, just tell us what inspired you to write this book, because, just if we look at when the pandemic struck, everybody was traumatized, everybody was writing about it, but it was a lot of adult voices. You saw the adult voices in the media, on social media, you saw them on, on the broadcasting media, everywhere, but we didn't really see, we heard that the children were feeling, experiencing the same emotions, the same fears that we have, but we didn't really see such a specific outlet, except I remember seeing a conversation by Equal Education. So this book is remarkable in that sense, that this is for me the first collective, sort of compilation of children's voices where we're not speaking on their behalf. So the question is really, what inspired you to go this route, to edit a book like this, learning under lockdown and giving the children, voices of South Africa's children, like you say?
Yeah, so two things. One is, I write a lot of academic books. In fact, I'm busy this year. I've been trying to get 2 or 3 books done. When the lockdown happened, when the pandemic came, I said to myself, 1 or 2 books I must do this year. I must speak to not my academic community of, in a very narrow field, but speak to the needs of the community. And so I said to myself, when I turn on the TV, I listen to epidemiologists, I listen to inspectors, I listen to directors of education, I listen to the minister, and then occasionally you heard the voices of teachers. But I didn't hear the voices of 13 million children. And I said, wouldn't it be fascinating? Because I'm sure they're scared. I'm sure they watch TV and they think, oh my word. I'm sure the matrics think this must be the worst year. You've upset all my plans. Matric dance, all of the stuff, the camps and so on. And I said to myself, we've got to find out what the children's, experiences were. And so I put up the Facebook social media thing, and I thought to myself, we're probably going to get about 100 stories. And I used a very antiquated way of doing this. This is before I asked Emily to come on board. And I mean, it went out of control from all the 9 provinces. I mean, these stories just came, and I said, I'm in trouble. I need somebody who's smart. I need somebody who hates sleep. And I need somebody who has a sense of the technology and so on. And I met Emily earlier, and we were exchanging writing pieces. She was doing journalism for the Stellenbosch University student newspaper. and for some of the local newspapers. And so I said, Emily, here's a project. And she came on board, and she really didn't like sleep, and she really worked very hard, and she's super smart, like all of you on this show. And she would speak to me. See, my biggest fear as a leader, because I'm so big physically, and people sort of, what's his name? I needed somebody to say, you're crazy. That's not going to work. Let me take over your Gmail and create a separate email. This is the way you manage hundreds of submissions. And Emily did all of that with the team and so on. So the idea, the origins of the idea was very much to give voice to students in the pandemic, and in that way to also give a book back. I mean, I tell you what's the most exciting thing for me about this. If you say to me, what's the kick you get out of this, apart from all the other stuff, the biggest kick for me is there are now 400 young people in South Africa who can say, I am an author. Isn't that awesome? I am an author. And I just hope, for both Bayanda and Thea and everybody else, that you will just write the next book and the next collection of poetry, as Bayanda said, or the next, just keep writing. There's too few writers in South Africa. There's a lot of speakers. There's a lot of dancers at cliques. There's a lot of, protesters. I don't see people producing out of Africa, out of Southern Africa, our own writing, our own voices, and so on. So the idea was a community service, I suppose, but it turned out beautifully to have this collection and so on. So my budget is shot. I've spent all my savings for the next 20 years. Because every time I go past the CNA, I buy another book. I just give it. The guy who fixed my tire yesterday, I just gave him a book. I mean, isn't that crazy? And I said, give it to your children,
That sounds crazy. That sounds absolutely crazy to me. But nothing, you redefining the term crazy, Prof. So, on that note, Theola, is there something you wanted to ask quickly?
For who? To Prof?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Anybody?
Yeah, anybody?
Oh, when I read the book, there was one word that came up. It was overwhelming, and most of the students or the learners, they felt overwhelmed with the lockdown and learning under lockdown. And then I think, Bayanda, you mentioned that you wanted to take this year and fill the gap of last year because you wanted to make up for what happened last year. I know that many of that instances also came forth from the stories. So I just wanted to know, do you feel a bit better now? Because we know it's been a month now and we've been at school for a while now. So do you feel a bit more relieved, and do you feel, okay, no, I'm fine, we're going to get through this, we're going to make this work? Or do you still feel a bit overwhelmed and taken aback with the situation that we have with us now?
So far, this year is still overwhelming for me because there's tons and tons of pressure of work that we have to get through. And seeing as I didn't do well that much, I didn't do to my limit last year. I wanted to do better this year. And the lockdown didn't make it easy for me to counterbalance all that happened last year.
Yeah.
So I'm just being strong now and pushing towards the finals with hope that I'm gonna get through it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And you, Thea?
I think that I'm also feeling extremely overwhelmed, and I think that every matriculant goes through that period of intense stress, but I think 2020 is a matric year like no other, where literally all the time that you wanted to spend with your teachers, to engage with your source material, was taken away from you. So I think that the stress is still omnipresent, but I think that I have a lot of faith, and I'm trying to be extremely optimistic about the fact that, there's nothing that you can't do with when it comes to your education, your schooling. You have unlimited possibilities. So my aim is just to engage with the material, not only so I can memorize it for an exam, but so that I can learn from it and, use it to not only get that certificate, but also try and push my boundaries and push my limits. So I like a good challenge. So even though I'm so stressed, I'm trying to push and get through it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
And then to Prof and Emily, now the book has sections. It's almost like chapters, so it has different sections. So I just wanted to know, did you pre-plan that, or did you go with the flow as the letters where it came in? Did you put the letters section by section and then compile it, or how did that process happen?
Good question, Emily.
I'll answer 50% of that, Prof, so you can answer the other 50%. Essentially, all of it, as Prof said, came in and it was quite overwhelming. But what we started to do is we started to pick out what were the main themes that were coming out. And Prof Jansen did a lot of that, and we were often on calls, but what are you reading? What am I reading? Okay, it's definitely mental health. It's definitely family. And so those started coming out as themes. And then Prof Jansen drew up sort of a list of longer themes, and sort of by the end of the book, we narrowed them down. And then something quite exciting happened, which I must also give credit to one of the Kadla in the team. We suddenly said, why don't we make them alphabetical? So then it's like learning under lockdown with an alphabet of A to Z. And what we were left with was an alphabetical list of themes. By the way, sorry, also last thing, that I am convinced that this book should not necessarily be read chronologically, but you should actually read the introduction and find those themes and start reading with what you are most interested about. And that is probably going to be the best way to go through the book. Yeah.
Can I just come in there? I spoke to somebody recently, and so he told me, listen, you don't read a book page by page. You jump around in the book, and this is how I started. I started with page by page, but then I went into the chapters, so I have all these. So I opened the chapters, and then I went, okay, I'm going to read 8 stories here, then 8 stories here. So I have a broad view of what is in the book, and also it was a greater way of actually seeing the voices, and also it's through what you said, because I got stuck with a section procrastination, and I am that queen, and I was stuck there, and I read that whole piece. Somebody wrote that when they must go do the classes, when they sit for the online classes, then they feel no, they must do their nails first, and then when they're done with that, they must go change it because the color don't work. And that's me. I felt that person. So it's true what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, Prof, sorry I interrupted you. You wanted to say?
No. I thought Emily. No. Bayanda and I can definitely relate to the nail story, but can I ask you? Can I ask you guys a question? Can I ask Sharon and Theola a question? Because I would like to know what reading the stories, what was it like for you? Now, Theola gave a little bit of a sense on the procrastination thing, but what did you read in the stories? Because see, Emily and I put it together. Thea and Bayanda wrote it, but you guys as the readers of other people's stories, I'm curious what you saw, what you felt, what you were surprised about, etc. Theola and Sharon?
Yeah, I like the way Prof just turned the interview into him becoming the host. So I'm going to give a one line, and so is Theola, because I have quite a few questions, Prof, that I have here that we would like to get through.
All right.
Yeah, just in terms of the stories, Bayanda and Thea and the others were online, and so Crystal will pull some of the comments up to say, some of the writers are here, and so they telling us. And Bayanda, your mom was on before the show started. So Mama Zinzi was here, and she said, "Proud of myself." So that was really cute, right at the beginning, Prof. And then Thea, your parents were on as well. So well done to the parents. And then just to answer your question, Prof, I really like the stories, like Theola said, you picked up a lot of the mental trauma that the learners experienced, and it was nice to hear how excited they were about having extra time, and then afterwards actually realizing that there's a lot of, a lot of expectation now in terms of responsibility and self-discipline, and, really having to work on how you're going to structure your time. But I must say there were quite a few pieces that I found very interesting, especially where the parents forced the children to write. So there's a twin group in the book, and the mom forced them to write, and they said, and she thinks we're writing about learning under lockdown, but this story is about her. And so they wrote a whole thing about her. And then and then there was some other comments. I quite enjoy it. It helps me a lot as a person also understand that universally we are human beings, whether we're young or old. We have the same experiences. We have the same anxieties. So yeah, so that I got a lot of value out of it. So yeah, so thanks so much for that, Prof. And to the writers, thanks so much. Those of you who are online, thanks for just helping me to grow as a human being. I really, really enjoyed it, and respect and salute to you. Okay, Theola, and then after your response.
Firstly, when I started to read, I picked up the language usage of the learners. It's a higher level. I put myself in their shoes. Most of the time, then I would think, okay, when I was this age, did I speak like this? Did I read like this? And I know I've read in the introduction that you said you didn't edit too much because you didn't want to lose the voice of the student.
Yeah.
So that is something that I picked up because I think I read like a writer because I like writing as well. So that is one thing that I've picked up. And then also there were things like the chores that the learners got. So I could put myself in the child's shoes or in the learner's shoes, and I could see what they experienced in the lockdown while they were at home. While we as teachers, we send work and we expect you to do the work. But in the meanwhile, the parents are at home and they expect the child to do the chores because they are at home. And it's not everybody that valued education the same way. Okay, for some people, education is high up in the hierarchy, but for others, it's here down below. So that was also something that I picked up. And then also something I spoke to Sharon about is, yes, we have the voices of those who've seen the post on Facebook, but there are also so many voices that we did not hear of those learners who are in the underprivileged areas and in the poorer communities, and they did not hear of this opportunity. And it would be nice to hear those voices as well, because obviously they most probably did not receive any education at all. And then what was nice, I picked up that some of the learners actually said, oh, but my friend didn't have internet connection or computers, so they had to print it at their house, and somehow they made provision for the other learner to get the work. So that is something that I've picked up. I could really put myself in the learner's shoes. And then also something from the teacher side, I've picked up that first 3 weeks of lockdown, the learners complained about too much work being sent at the same time. I think the educators were overwhelmed as well, and they just sent work, whether it's the right work or not, but they sent it because the department said we must do education, and it's not closed, it's open, it's lockdown. So I think I picked that up as well as a teacher. I think I must probably did that myself. It's only after week 3 then, okay, we got some guidance from WCED of, okay, us that's here in the Western Cape. So that is some of the things that I've picked up from. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Prof, back to you and to Emily. Can you look, the book cost, what's it, 99?
99
That's
and 95 cents.
99 and 95 cents. That's affordable for most people, right? Even if people want to give it as a gift to somebody, it's not a lot of money to spend. We want to know, how were you able to keep that price point so low? And,
that's a very good question.
And then another question, Prof, which you can respond into in one breath, you and Emily, is how did you guys manage to bring out the book in such a record time? Did you sleep? Were you on, what were you drinking? What? How big was the team that helped you? Just tell us, how did you get the book out so fast? and how you're able to keep the book at that price point, knowing that books are
Okay.
expensive.
Let me talk about the price
Okay.
mainly. So, the whole idea for me with a book like this in the middle of a pandemic lockdown is how do you make it accessible? Because you can easily write a book like that for 325 rands, and nobody will be able to buy it except middle class, well-off people. So the first goal that I set for myself is this thing must be cheap. So I went, and that meant choosing a printer and not a publisher. So when you choose a traditional publisher, like, Jonathan Ball or, NB Publishers here in Cape Town, it's going to skyrocket the price because they have to pay a whole lot of people to produce the book as a normal, published book. So we chose a printer. But the printer is so good that if you look at that book, you wouldn't know the difference between a book that's printed versus a book that is published in the normal way. And he said, I'm going to print this book. His name is Rodney Maharaj. He runs Associated Printers near the airport, Cape Town Airport. And he literally printed this book for 13 cents. Okay. And in others, he was giving it away. Now, I must understand, they're already losing money, these printers, because of the lockdown. Okay, big time. They're losing millions. But he said, you know what? I want to be part of this project. I want to be part of this community service, as I called it. And shout out to Rodney Maharaj, because he did it. Then I called CNA, and CNA's, I know Benjamin Trisky used to run Exclusive Books. And I said, Benjamin, I got this project, but you must only charge for the putting it on the shelves and paying typesetters and all of that stuff. And that's how the book got. There's nowhere in the world you will get this book for 99 rand. That I can tell you. And then in addition to that, as you probably know, Sharon, the proceeds of the book, that is whatever, if somebody buys this book at CNA for 99 rand, all of that money goes into a trust. And in that trust, we will build up the money and then give it to school feeding schemes. And the school will be nominated by the students whose stories were published. Wow. So, let's say, for example, Thea says, I know a school in Port Shepstone, province, that's really poor. Then we will divide up the money between the school that she chooses in Port Shepstone, that Mbanga chooses in Dispatch or wherever, and we will give the money to the school. So none of this goes to anybody, okay? And I'm very proud of that because there's so much, you look at our government today, they're so bloody greedy, everybody's stealing, And I think there must be projects in our country where we give back, instead of just taking. But I think the other part of producing the book quickly has to do with how Emily put together a team, and I really would like her to speak about that.
Emily?
Sure. Yes. So it was amazing to see how, I remember the Zoom where Prof. Jansen said, how would you like to do this together? And the very next day we had, Prof. Jansen was forwarding the emails on. So it was really go from day one. How did we do it so quickly is, I also remember, as soon as we started, Prof. Jansen said, by the way, I've told Benjamin, we can do this in a week. So, that pretty much set the precedent from the get-go. And what we did is I couldn't have done it by myself. I did it with the help of Victoria Jacobs and Maxine Beimel and Tara Sit. The four of us, eventually we're doing it all together. We were not necessarily, as Prof said, sleeping, but it was great. It was such a rush. So we put in probably 16-hour days. It got to the point where, you must have said, if Jonathan Jansen's working hard, for every 3 steps he takes, I need to take maybe 13. So it got to the point where we were strapping our backs and giving each other massages, drinking vitamin C, drinking magnesium, and just encouraging each other. And then those last 3 days, we literally, especially even then, worked almost 48-hour days. We would relay. The last thing is just before we gave the book off to Prof. Jansen, I remember that I would work 16 hours and then say, okay, Maxine, I'm going to bed. They would start, and then we would just relay who gets a turn to sleep, and it worked. And then obviously, Deborah Rudman, we handed it off to a professional typesetter, and they also worked very quickly on design and that sort of thing.
Sure, that sounds like slave driving, Emily. I don't know what you call it.
Thing. I'm gonna do it again.
Stiana?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Bayanda and Thea, how do you feel about knowing that you contributed to a book where the proceeds will help to feed your fellow citizens, young people like you? Did you know this information?
But I didn't know this information, so it's only now that I'm finding out about it. But then for that, I feel very, very honored, and to Emily and Professor Jansen, like for doing that for the youngsters such as us. It's a lot, as much as it's not covering so much to like fulfill everyone, but then it's a lot to those youngsters. So I very much like give a shout out to them for that.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that it's very special to be part of the opportunity. I also had no idea that the proceeds were going to such an amazing cause. I think that school nutrition is something that is always emphasized in South Africa because of the large disparities in the education system, and access is a problem, and children who really require every child deserves an opportunity to get access to an education, but nutrition and all of that forms part of it. So I think that Emily and Professor Jansen, you have done a phenomenal job at not only giving a voice to young people and just amplifying that voice so that people realize that we are also part of this conversation of how we can improve this country, but also you are trying to create some sort of equality in the education system, and that's extremely important. So thank you.
Thanks, Thea.
Wow. Fiona?
I see there's a question from Fiona. She asked, maybe a book on teachers' experiences during the lockdown. Is that in order?
Emily, that's 16 hours, eh?
There is actually on that. There is one story in this whole book which is actually written by a teacher, and it's in the last chapter called "Now for Something Different." And Jocelyn de Mink from One Book Boys in Cape Town has written. So there's one. We've started.
she was what they call in the Cape forward. She was just a bit forward, so she got a story with the children's stories. But no, I think Theola, I think I might have talked to you about this as well. I really do think that book has to happen. You can't understand learning if you don't understand teaching. And so I think a book in which teachers reflect on how difficult it was for them, because perhaps less so for the students, the teachers also had to worry about their own health, and not just, and then a lot of them had to suckle with finding out how to teach online. Not everybody had those skills, and when teachers didn't come to school, others had to fill in for them. The timetable from the department changed all the time, and then it's lockdown and not lockdown, and then it's phased in, and all of that. I think the voices of teachers has to be heard. So I think that is definitely something we should do and will do. For now, I'm just happy. I don't know if you guys know, I'm sort of in touch with education professors and colleagues around the world every single day. And they tell me this is the only book in the world that has a compilation of student stories on this scale. first out of Africa, first out of South Africa. So I think you guys should feel really proud of yourselves. And I've already sent this book around the world. I just landed today with friends of mine in Boston who are going to send it to different universities. So your stories will be read around the world. And it's an amazing project. As Sharon said, can I just say this? I mean, let me get this off my chest. I always worry that Africa, South Africa, we're always playing catch up. Do you know where the vaccine will come from? The vaccine won't come from South Africa. The vaccine will come from Boston or from Oxford or from, and there's no reason why it can't come from us. But it's because we're always in our minds playing catch up. In our minds, we're always a victim. In our minds, we're always behind. But that's not true, So for me to have the first book compilation of student stories in the world to go around the world from Southern Africa is bloody fantastic, And I want to encourage especially, Bayanda and Thea. Whenever you think of yourselves, think of something you can do that nobody else has done before, okay? Don't just repeat what everybody else does, That's why I don't dance the Jerusalem, just because Sharon already danced it and it scared the hell out of me, Sorry, she's my neighbor, I can say that, But try always and say to yourself, whether it's in poetry and creative work, whether it's in drama or science, what is it that I can do that nobody else has yet done, okay? That is our time as Africans. That is our time as South Africans. And so for me, the book wasn't just about the student stories. The book is, in my head, it's what can we do that nobody's done before? And then you connect with people who make it happen. People like Emily, people like Thea and Bayanda. I tell you, this country's got so much potential. But we're fighting amongst ourselves. We throw a fit about hair. Who the hell cares about hair? We go off a tangent. We jump on planes to Zimbabwe without paying. We're in the wrong space, guys. Where is the creative space? Okay, where do we produce our own music, our own books, our own science? And that I hope is the encouragement that all of you guys would take away from this.
Yeah. Theola, just a comment, and then you must chip in here quickly. Prof, what I would like to see is perhaps, giving more of the student writers an opportunity to come on to some platform like a Zoom call or something. Because I think it's I'm sure they're watching Bayanda and Thea and thinking, wow, that's us, they're representing us. But even if I listened to you at the beginning, you said it's so nice to see the people behind the words, So I'm challenging you, Prof, to have such a session with the writers. And then to follow up with that, how did you make the selection, Emily, you and Prof? You said you got over 640 and you published about 400, Theola? Was that the total that was called?
That's correct.
So how did you guys make the selection?
But Sharon, just on your first point, I think we've got good news for you. No?
Oh.
Emily, can you talk about Heritage Day?
Sure. So, Shannon, what you're speaking about is totally up my alley, and I totally agree with you. This was about young voices, and even in the aftermath of the book being out, that is really what we want to drive out there. So on Heritage Day, we are going to be having a Heritage Day online feature with Learning Under Lockdown, and it's going to be hosted on the TEDx Stellenbosch platform.
Wow.
As we speak, we have reached out to, I hope Thea and Bayanda, you've received our emails about this. If you haven't, we must chat. But we've already asked a lot of the kids to join us on Heritage Day. Some of them are sending us voice notes of quotes of their stories. We're getting them even just to send pictures of them receiving the book. So what we've noticed is with this volume of young people, we target specific groups and we say, can you send us a piece of your story with you reading it? Can you send us a picture of how you received it? So that we reach all 640 in a unique way. And on Heritage Day, we're going to bring it to everyone to really see, this is what they have to say. And so that's very exciting. Thanks, Prof. Sorry.
Yeah. Wow.
Fantastic.
I just wanted to know, Prof and Emily, don't you guys miss the fact that there wasn't really a book launch like you would have a hall or a place and then you have all the books and all the writers and authors and everybody. Don't you miss that part? Because we're in the lockdown period now and we can't do that. And I would have loved to come to the launch. I hope you guys would have invited me though. So don't you miss that?
Prof?
It's really, really true. I mean, having done these launches, there's nothing better than seeing an audience, having a cook sister with them, signing somebody's book, taking photos with, that for me is the real book launch. I mean, I like this. I mean, this is out of necessity, obviously. But oh my word, I miss that. I mean, just imagine you go to CNA, you got a big mask on, you're buying the book, and the cashier looks through your specs and say, "I've seen you before." Oh, here you are, And then, but it's yeah. I mean, I'm a touch and feel person. I want to give somebody a hug. I want to feel the book. I want to get. So yeah, I don't know. I miss that. I can't wait for us to get back to normal, so that we can have that human interaction with each other. I'd like to see Thea and Banga in person. I just want to tell them how proud I am of them, and of all the other 600 young people. So yeah, you're right, Thea. It's something I miss. Emily, you?
I think the funny thing is I've never had a book launch before. So, of course, you can sort of think of what it might be like. But I still feel like I've won the jackpot having the book already. So the launch would have just been the cherry on top. I tell you who does definitely miss it is my mother. My poor mother was just looking for Carson Vane. My mom was, taking the book to a funeral to show people. I think it really is sort of the family and the people around you who also want to celebrate.
Yeah.
Well, funeral is sort of an extreme version of lockdown. So I mean,
And I'm sure to the young writers who are watching, everything we're saying here tonight applies to you as well. And you're going to have an amazing experience, as explained by Emily. And I believe you got your voice, your mail already, and your messages about this fantastic occasion that you're going to have in Stellenbosch. So yes, you can send messages here to Prof and to Emily, and of course you can chat to Bayanda and Thea as well. And then while we're waiting for them to talk, Prof, just speak to how did you make the selection, you and Emily? How did you guys decide on what gets published?
You know what is really, it's you guys are asking such amazing questions, Sharon, which takes me back. Emily and I would fight, and I would choose a set of stories, and Emily says, no, that doesn't work for me. Here's my set of stories. And we'd have this banter back and forth on Zoom and email, no, not these stories. Nah, what did you see in that story? No, I mean, she didn't tell me this because she's too kind, but I could hear her saying, this old man doesn't get it, this is the voice of students. And because there's mutual respect, we really worked to see if we could accommodate each other's stories. But I think in general, what we also did is we had judges for the top stories. So people like Thuli Madonsela, the former public protector, people like Fidel Afiji, the famous media personality. We had some really, really good people who helped us with the top selection of stories. And there was quite a bit of unanimity amongst them, actually. But in general, we looked for stories that said something new, that said something fresh, that had a new angle on the thing. So, if somebody just said, I woke up, I went to bed, I got up, I did my Zoom, I went to that, we probably...
Bayanda's laughing.
We probably didn't take those stories, but we looked for stories that were funny. There were some hilarious stories, There were some people who just wrote a short thing. There was somebody who submitted a poem. Emily, what was some of the other stuff we looked for?
I think I mean, we also had a section that was dedicated to having different voices. So we wanted sometimes something in a different language. We made sure that we also got a spread from different provinces. But I think, yeah, we really wanted to get a sense of meeting these people. It had to be personal. It had to be real. We didn't necessarily need a lot of, philosophical stuff. We wanted a lot of the hard details of what it's really like. And so if we felt that it was real, we sort of took it. I think in the beginning we were going to take, we were going to make a shorter selection and just do 100 stories, if I remember correctly, Prof. We were going to do less stories, full stories. And what we decided was, there were so many little snippets that were so useful. And so eventually what happened is we ended up selecting more learners to be in the book, but sometimes shorter pieces, which is why you'll notice in the book, some are longer stories like Thea and Bayanda's. Some writers just have, 3 lines, but those 3 lines are so telling. Somebody who says, I learned a whole lot of new things by myself, that hot water makes an egg soft and a potato hard, and, things like that. 3 lines, but it's hilarious. Or I learned my new mantra was to think positive and test negative,
Yes. I also like the way students are so humorous. But before I get carried away, because I must still read quite a few stories. Prof, we've got about 5 minutes. Is there something, Fiona, would you like to ask our last question, and then we'll just give our guests an opportunity to make closing comments on anything they want to make? Closing comment
Not a
on?
question, but I just want to make a comment that in one of these sections, keeping afloat, it's like a whole section of how the learners coped within this time. And if other people, other readers read the book, you can also get information from this, which you like. I like self-help books, so that is where my reading lies. So if learners read this, they would also gain that knowledge and say, oh, okay, I can do this, perhaps to try and get this online thing going. So the sections, that was really something special to me, because we all read for different reasons. Like I told Sharon once in a workshop, I don't read for pleasure, I read for information. But now in this book, there are different sections that caters to the different needs of the different readers as well. So I like that. And it seemed as if these learners, they are so resilient and they are so inspirational, because from majority of the stories, the last sentence would be, we're going to get through this. It's not going to end here. And I really look up to these young writers, both of you here and those that are on the live now. So I want to say big ups to you guys, and I hope to read. Prof and Emily, you guys perhaps have inspired 400 other writers. So we're going to have those 400 other books in a few years, or perhaps Bayanda and Thea will write next year, so we'll read their books next year. So yeah, that's my closing comment.
I can see us having about 10 X's, Fiona. Bayanda inviting us to one Thea, to another one, the other guys. Yeah. Prof, yeah, we've got about 5 minutes, and I'm sure, guys, I didn't even really greet, and Crystal's trying to keep up with your comments, but we're acknowledging the comments there, and we'll read every single comment afterwards again. So don't think that we're ignoring you, but the session is so packed. We can have a 2-3 hour conversation like this, we won't exhaust it. But we have to wrap up and respect your time. So I'm going to ask you just to make a closing comment, anything that you want to say, tell us what maybe the Thea and Bayanda, what are your future plans, what kind of careers are you looking at, and then any closing comment that you want to make, and then we'll give Emily an opportunity to speak, and then Prof, anything that you guys want to still add to help us understand what went into the book. We heard it cost 13 cents the printer charged. We heard that the money is going to a nutrition scheme for chosen by our writers that are published here. So we got a lot of information, and 99 Rand. It's possible to give everybody a gift with this book, so that young people can identify and see how, these are the possibilities out there. You don't just need to be a prof like some people on our show. So, so on that note, yes, who's going to start? Thea, Bayanda?
I'm
Closing
gonna start.
comments, anything you want to say, even a shout out to your principal who's sitting up there with you and who made sure you're on tonight. She's
Yes,
woman.
firstly, I'd like to give a shout out to my principal, Miss Jean Human, and also to all the teachers, because without them, we couldn't have like written that book. All those individuals who took part in like sharing their messages with other people, they couldn't have done that without the help from their teachers. So I'd like to give a shout out to all the teachers around the country, and also around the world if there are some out of the nation. And also, like, they are the ones who are the key factors and like the builders of our future, because without them we couldn't have been where we are today. We couldn't have been in grade 12. We couldn't have known how to read and write without them. So I'm really looking forward into getting more interaction with other people as to like writing books and sharing their messages in the future.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'd like to once again give a shout out to my family, and especially my dad who's watching. I think that he's played a major role in how I conceptualize the world and the kind of opinions that I have. And he always encourages me to be very open-minded and tolerant. And I think that those characteristics are so important in the modern society. On future plans, I plan to study geospatial science next year. And I think that although I'm studying something in the sciences, I think that the one thing that I've wanted to do as well was get involved in philanthropy and activism as well, because there's a lot of stigma attached to people in the sciences don't associate with people in literature or vice versa. So I'd like to break that stigma and also be able to use my voice for the better. And I think that this project allowed me to do that. So from the bottom of my heart, I would love to thank the people behind it, Professor Jansen, Emily, and your teams. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. It's just so heartwarming, and it's one step closer to the goals that I have envisioned for myself. So thank you.
Wow. And there's your dad giving a shout out. Dad's super proud of you, Thea. Hot. And I'm going to listen. Bayanda, we were trying to look for your mom's comment. But your mom was on about, I think you'll see, she was on about 7:10, and I wanted to tell her, you must still wait another 20 minutes. But to Mama Zinzi, yes, I'm sure we're going to, Bayanda will find your comment later. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Thanks for that. And then, of course, there's Fiona saying, Dad really raised a remarkable young lady. Thea, their dad is also getting some kudos. Yeah. Okay. And then now we're moving on to, I think I'm losing the plot here. Let me just pull up Zandile. Well done to my fellow writers, and well done to my school, Maritzburg College, and my English teacher, Miss Governor. Regards, Satoy. Do you know that, Prof? Do you know that school?
I know the school, and I know Rodelle Govender. She's like Debbie Owen, and Mrs. Pillay. She really organized the boys at Maritzburg College. Great school.
Wow, thank you. Okay, and then of course now we're going to have to ask Emily and Prof just to give their closing comment, please.
I think just from me, the one thing is three things quickly. One is to reiterate, as Fiona was saying, definitely try to read the book in sections. I wouldn't recommend reading it chronologically. Find those parts that you're really interested in, be it mental health, family dynamics, being procrastination. Choose that first and read the book by theme, 100%. The second thing is just a huge thank you. Thea and Bayanda, this is a school night. Thank you for being here. Thank you for writing, for writers listening, and for parents and for teachers who invested in this. Just a huge thank you. And then that this is very much not the end. The book is on shelves, but this is, so in many ways, only the beginning. We want to see people, young people still writing and keep on going. And then otherwise, we'll see you on Heritage Day from our side.
Wow.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out. Sharon grew up across the road from where I grew up, but she was sturvy, She wouldn't.
Liar!
She wouldn't.
Sorry, guys, he's a liar. Council flat. Council flat.
Council flat. Yeah, she wouldn't give you the time of day, but you were upstairs. And Sharon, I want to give a shout out to you for this program. This launch, this incredible opportunity wouldn't have happened without your vision and without your energy. I know that there's a reason you brought Theola on, who's a leader at is it Yellowwood or something, in Mitchell's Plain. And Theola is also, I know, a very energetic, visionary young teacher that you mentor as well, and she mentors others in turn. So I want to say to you as our teacher leaders, to you, Sharon, and to you, Theola, you have my utmost respect for creating a platform for the book, but more importantly, a platform for our young people, for our learners. God bless you and thank you very much.
Thanks, Prof. Theola? Are you crying, Theola?
No, thank you very much, Prof. Emily, Thea, and Bayanda for coming on tonight. I think it was very eventful, exciting, and insightful, everything, because we have so many writers here. And if I look at the comments, we can't read through all of them, but everybody is congratulating you and just speaking about the great work that Prof and Emily is doing. So thank you for that. And I think the two of you are a powerful collaboration, and I hope this is not the last that we're seeing of you. We heard about Heritage Day, so I'm looking forward to the work that you guys are still going to produce, and also your blog, Thea and Bayanda, your poems that you are writing. All of the best with everything you guys are doing, and thank you for allowing me to come on to the show tonight. Sharon, I know it's not easy to co-present because sometimes you forget about the co-presenter. So
Is that the jam? Is that the jam?
Thank you very much for this. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I wonder if that's a jam, Theola. Yeah. First of all, let me just say to the community, thanks guys for coming, and for those of you who joined us for the first time here on School Corridor. This is sort of the normal thing that happens on a Tuesday. We have chats about relevant issues, and it's just a fun way of learning together and just growing together and empowering ourselves. So if you're interested, pop in again, because we always have people on the show and we always have interesting topics. So on that note, I just want to say to Emily, thanks so much. I've really enjoyed your input tonight and the context that you gave around the book and the kind of, deliberations, but also it wasn't a cold clinical exercise. It was really a matter of reading and appreciating what the young people are saying, and then debating and arguing and fighting and spending 16 hours deciding on how best to represent the young people and to affirm them. So thank you for all that energy and effort that you guys put into the book. And then Prof, you my mentor, I take my hat off to you. You have given a lot of people a voice to speak. Your voice is all over the show. It's either I know you don't like Jerusalem, but we're going to get you to dance on Heritage Day. You will dance on Heritage Day. Bayanda will ensure that you dance on Heritage Day. So I want to say thank you, Prof, for creating this opportunity. It's not often that our learners are visible like this. And here they are. We can read about them. We can see that it's really living human beings and highly intelligent people, highly intelligent ones that can help shape the way we're supposed to conduct ourselves in the future. So thanks very much for this opportunity, and I'm hoping that more people will purchase the book and actually just read what the learners themselves say rather than trying to interpret. Then to our young students, thank you guys for coming online. Thea, it was a major battle to get you on. With Hi Bayanda, we had quite a few tech issues, but you were so determined. After writing that trial, you were busy till 6 o'clock tonight, but you said there's no way I'm missing out on tonight. So thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your voice with us and your presence. And Bayanda, thanks so much. You had to travel to your principal's house tonight. And she's sitting there probably smiling ear to ear. If I know it, you know, the way I know Miss Human, she's probably smiling and saying, she told me, you're taking one of my handsome guys tonight, eh? I said, I'm taking one of the handsome authors tonight, you mean? So, thanks so much, Bayanda. May you have great success even with nautical science that you say is your bugbear. But have fun learning, and thanks for all the experience that you gave us. Okay? If nobody has anything else to say, then I'm ready to wrap up. Then I just want to say out there, guys, we're saying cheerio to you from School Corridor. Here we like to master your craft and spread your impacts. On that note, from me and Christo, cheerio. And from our guests, they say cheerio.
Yes.
Cheerio.
Bye.